You wondering why you have to roll dice? Why do you need to roll to see if you open a door? And why are there so many dice? Well, welcome back to Dice and Design. I'm Nathan Vale. This channel is about tabletop RPGs, storytelling, and running better games. So let's get into it. Most people look at dice and see randomness, luck, or a lack of control over what happens next, and that can lead to people thinking that outcomes are arbitrary, the game is deciding instead of the player, and some people assume dice make the game worse by removing skill and attention. But that's not necessarily always the case. Going back to rolling a die to see if you open the door, I don't know how many times that I have walked up to a push door and I've tried to pull it open, right? So, I mean, just because we want to do something doesn't mean it always works out. Dice don't decide what you attempt. They're resolving whether or not the attempt succeeds or fails. See, you still choose the action. The dice only determine the outcome when that action is uncertain. In reality, the game should only call for a dice roll if it's not sure what the outcome is going to be. It means that the dice exist specifically in situations where results should not be guaranteed. The presence of dice signals the outcome matters and is not predetermined. See, the story your table is telling is not a story that's written down. You're not following a script. And because of that, you need to see whether or not an action succeeds or fails. That helps move the story along. You see, in real life, making the right decision doesn't guarantee success, and making the wrong decision doesn't guarantee failure. Outcomes are influenced by factors outside of our control, even when our choices are correct. We already operate in a world where effort, preparation, and execution improve the odds, but do not determine the results. And dice are introducing something artificial, and they're modeling something that already exists. I was in a Orlando Magic game the other day. Very skilled players. They spend a lot of time practicing, but they still miss shots. They still miss passes, and that's true across businesses and bike riding. You know, I had a friend that used to ride bikes a lot as a BMX rider, and he would still have cases where he crashed, where he wrecked. The skill and training and preparation did not remove bad outcomes. That's how invariance helps improve the game. See, without it, decisions would always lead the best outcome and the game would quickly become predictable. The story would have no contention if success was guaranteed. If everything was just handed to you on a silver platter, really, you'd get bored very quickly. The table needs some opportunity for failure to change the way the story goes, to improve the momentum, to help have some reality in how the system plays out. A predictable system becomes solvable, right? Solitaire. There's a point in time where you can see whether or not you're going to win or whether or not you're going to lose because it's a very predictable system. Once you already have the decision-making process removed, it becomes mechanical instead of meaningful. You're not going to tell meaningful stories if there's not a chance for the attempts that you make to fail. It prevents the game from being reduced to optimization alone and helps you to learn to adapt instead of just following a script. Because the outcomes are not guaranteed, each decision carries weights and tension is created at every critical moment. You shouldn't be trying to control the outcome, but to make the best possible decision given the incomplete information that your character has, right? Good play comes from about managing risk, improving odds, making decisions that are still correct even if they fail. And that should shift the focus from, did I succeed, to, was this the right decision? Over time, players learn to separate the quality of the decision from the randomness of the outcomes. See, failure isn't about the absence of progress. It's what creates the consequence and movement within the story. If every action succeeded, there would be no tension, no stakes, and no meaningful change in the world. Some of the most memorable moments in tabletop games come from failed rolls that force unexpected outcomes. Maybe you were trying to pick a lock into a structure to free some friends. Failing that led to a whole different narrative path than if you'd succeeded. Maybe it gave you an opportunity to grow your character. Maybe it gave you an opportunity to have to hide out from the law. And so you were able to establish new friendships, new relationships. Maybe failing that attack against the bad guy led to some redemption arc. the failure outcome still can push the narrative along and can make the quality of the game overall meaningful. You have to learn to separate decision quality from result to understand how important it is to the game and real world systems. It should reward good decision making over time, not perfect outcomes in the moment. The game shouldn't be determined by one or two successful or unsuccessful rolls. It should be a series of good decisions that lead to a positive outcome. Too little variance in a game leads to a solved system where outcomes are predictable, where it gets boring. Hey, I just know how this is going to go. But if there's too much variance, if there's too much randomness in it, you remove the meaningful decisions that become separated from the player's input, right? A well-designed system balances player agency with uncertainty so that choices matter but are not guaranteed. The role of the system, whatever that system is to control that balance so the game remains both fair but also engaging. See, dice are not the game. They're the mechanism that allows meaningful decisions to exist within it. You're not playing to control outcomes. You're playing to make better decisions that matter when the rolls fail. Variance isn't a flaw in the system. It's what gives the system life.